Good guys, are you and your dear and your safe and sound? It's activist completer Professor A. Suresh back with absolute delight for my 65th video in process for publication on YouTube today, 19th of August 2020. Topic for discussion today is wages, salary and incentives simplified for dummies. The word salary originated from the Latin word salarium, which also means salary and as a root sal or salt. In ancient Rome, it specifically meant the amount of money allotted to Roman soldier to buy salt, which was an essential but expensive commodity. The dictionary definition of salarium at Wiki Dictionary, or the price of having soldiers conquer salt supplies and guard the salt roads via salaria that led to Rome. But there is no evidence for this assertion at all. Some people even claim that the word soldier itself comes from the Latin sal dare, to give salt, but mainstream sources disagree, noting that the word soldier more likely derives from the gold solidus introduced by Diocletian in 301 AD. Salary is a form of payment from an employer to an employee which may be specified in an employment contract. It is contrasted with the piece wages, where each job, hour or other unit is paid separately rather than a periodic basis. From the point of view of running the business, salary can also be viewed as a cost of acquiring and retaining human resources for running operations, and is in turn personal expense or salary expense. In accounting, salaries are recorded on payroll accounts. Salary is a fixed amount of money or compensation paid to an employee by an employer in return for work performed. Salary is commonly paid in fixed intervals, for example, monthly payments of 1/12 of the annual salary. Salary is typically determined by comparing market pay rates for people performing similar work in similar industries in the same region. Salary is also determined by leveling the pay rates and salary ranges established by an individual employer. Salary is also affected by the number of people available to perform the specific job in the employer's employment locale. The salary is a form of payment from an employer to an employee which may be specified in an employment contract. It is contrasted with the piece wages, where each job, our other unit is paid separately rather than on a periodic basis. From the point of view of running a business, salary can also be viewed as a cost of acquiring and retaining human resources for running operations, and is then termed personal expense or salary expense. Salary is commonly paid in fixed intervals, for example, monthly payments of 1/12 of the annual salary. Salary is typically determined by comparing market pay rates for people performing similar work, as I said before. Salary is also determined by leveling the pay rates and salary ranges established by an individual employer. Salary is also affected by the number of people available to perform the specific job in the employer's employment locale. Nowadays, organization-specific cost to the company, CTC, is a term. CTC, a term for the local salary package, total salary package for an employee, used in countries such as India and South Africa. It indicates the total amount of expenses an employer spends on an employee for every year. Perks are something extra that employees get from the employer in addition to money. These additional benefits are provided to employees to keep them more satisfied in their roles. Pure monetary perks are prepaid, paid time off, performance bonuses, retirement and pension plans, perks to stay healthy, medical insurance, gym and other such programs, and extra time off, perks to perform better or flexible schedule, free development programs and courses, tuition coverage if reimbursement, community assistance and volunteer time. Perks to relax and unwind are office perks and employee discounts. The family perks are paid maternal, paternal leave and childcare assistance. Most info that the first salary would have been paid in a village in a city during the Neolithic Revolution, sometime between 10,000 BC and 6,000 BC. Initially, payment for the work done was salt and materials produced, food grains, vegetables and fruits, oils, etc., especially for people working in agriculture. Only later payment was either made as money or gold coins or precious gems. Barter systems also existed those days. Even now it is prevalent in rural areas, especially where tribal people reside. Many of the jobs initially created by the commercial revolution in the years from 1520 to 1650 and later during industrialization in the 18th and 19th centuries would not have been salaried, but to the extent they were paid as employees, probably paid an hourly or daily wage or paid per unit introduced. From 1870 to 1930, the second industrial revolution gave rise to the modern business corporation powered by railroads, electricity and telegraph and telephone. This era saw the widespread emergence of a class of salaried executives and administrators who served the new large-scale enterprises being created. New managerial jobs lent themselves to salaried employment, in part because the effort and output of office work were hard to measure hourly or piece-wise, and in part because they did not necessarily draw remuneration from share ownership. As Japan rapidly industrialized in the 20th century, the idea of office work was novel enough that the new Japanese word salary man was coined to describe those who performed it, as well as referencing the remuneration. In the 20th century, the rise of the service economy made salaried employment even more common in developed countries, where the relative share of industrial production jobs declined and the share of executive, administrative, computer, marketing, and creative jobs, all of which tended to be salary increased. Today, the concept of salary continues to evolve as a part of a system of total compensation that employers offer to employees. Salary, also known as fixed or base pay, is coming to be seen as part of the total reward system, which includes bonuses, incentive pay, commissions, benefits, and perquisites or perks, and equity like stock options, especially common in technology companies. These tools help employers link rewards to an employee's performance. Compensation has evolved considerably. Consider the change from the days of and before the industrial evolution, when the job was held for a lifetime, to the fact from 1978 to 2008, individuals who aged from 18 to 44 held an average number of 11 jobs. Compensation in knowledge-based work has evolved gradually, moving away from fixed short-term immediate compensation towards fixed and variable outcomes-based compensation. In India, salaries are generally paid on the last working day of the month. According to the Payment of Wages Act, if a company has less than 1,000 employees, salary is paid by the company on 7th of every month. If a company has more than 1,000 employees, salary is paid by the 10th of every month or before. Minimum wages in India are governed by the Minimum Wages Act 1948. Employees in India are notified of the salary being increased through a hard copy letter given to them. Pay outstanding salary of police commissioner, besides basic pay, that is dearness allowance based on cost of living, CCA, city compensatory allowance, HRA, house rent allowance, travel allowance, TA, casualty compensation option, provident fund, PF, leave travel assistance, LTA, utilities expense and medical expense reimbursement, group medical insurance schemes, compensation for higher education and training, etc. Prior to the acceptance of an employment offer, the prospective employee usually has the opportunity to negotiate the terms of the offer. This primarily focuses on salary, but extends to benefits, work arrangements, and other amenities as well. Negotiating salary can potentially lead the prospective employee to a higher salary. In addition, the employer is able to feel more confident that they hired an employee with strong interpersonal skills and the ability to deal with conflict. Negotiating salary will thus likely yield an overall positive outcome for both sides of the bargaining table. Perhaps the most important aspect of salary negotiation is the level of preparation put in by the prospective employee. Background research and comparable salaries will help the prospective employee understand the appropriate range for the position. Assessment of alternate offers that the prospective employee has already received can help in the negotiation process. Research on the actual company itself will help identify where concessions can be made by the company and what may potentially be considered off limits. These items and more can be organized in a negotiations planning document that can be used in the evaluation of the offers received from the employee. Overall, individuals who are risk averse tended to avoid salary negotiations or use very weak approaches to the negotiation process. On the contrary, those who are risk tolerant engaged in negotiations more frequently and demonstrated superior outcomes. Individuals who approach the negotiation as a distributive problem ended up with an increased salary but lower rate of satisfaction upon completion. Those who approach the negotiation as an integrative problem were able to both secure an increased salary and an outcome that they are fully satisfied with. Truly, salary disparities between men and women may partially be explained by differences in negotiation tactics used by men and women. Although men and women are equally likely to initiate in a salary negotiation with the employees, men will achieve higher outcomes than women by about 2% of starting salary. Studies have indicated that men tend to use active negotiations tactics of directly asking for a higher salary, while women tend to use more of an indirect approach by emphasizing self-promotion tactics. Other research indicates that early childhood play patterns may influence the way men and women negotiate. Men and women tend to view salary differently in terms of relative importance. Overall level of confidence in a negotiation may also be a determinant of why men tend to achieve higher outcomes in salary negotiations. Finally, the awareness of the stereotype alone may directly cause women to achieve a lower outcomes, as one study indicates. Regardless of the cause, the outcome yields a disparity between men and women that contributes to the overall wage gap observed in many nations. A minimum wage is the lowest remuneration the employers can legally pay their workers, the price floor below which workers may not sell their labor. Most countries had introduced minimum wage legislation by the end of the 20th century. The movement for minimum wages was first motivated as a way to stop the exploitation of workers in sweatshops by employers who were thought to have unfair bargaining power over time. Over time, minimum wages came to be seen as a way to help lower income families. Modern national laws enforcing compulsory union membership, which prescribe minimum wages for the members, were first passed in New Zealand and Australia in the 1890s. Although minimum wage laws are in effect in many jurisdictions, differences of opinion exist about the benefits and drawbacks of a minimum wage. Supporters of the minimum wage say it increases the standard of living of workers, reduces poverty, reduces inequality, and boosts morale. In contrast, opponents of the minimum wage say that it increases poverty, increases unemployment because some low-wage workers will be unable to find work and will be pushed into the ranks of the unemployed, and is damaging to business because excessively high minimum wages require businesses to raise the prices of the product or service to accommodate the extra expense of paying a higher wage. The Minimum Wages Act 1948 is an act of parliament concerning Indian labour law that sets the minimum wages that must be paid to skilled and unskilled labourers. The Indian Constitution has defined a living wage, that is the level of income for a worker which will ensure a basic standard of living, including good health, dignity, comfort, education, and provide for any contingency. However, to keep in mind, an industry's capacity to pay, the Constitution has defined a fair wage. Fair wage is that level of wage that not just maintains a level of employment but seeks to increase, in keeping the perspective, the industry's capacity to pay. To achieve this, in its first session during November 1948, the Central Advisory Council appointed a tripartite committee of fair wage. The committee is set up with the concept for minimum wage, which not only guarantees bare subsistence and preserves efficiency but also provides for education, medical requirements, and some level of comfort. India introduced a Minimum Wages Act in 1948, giving both the central government and state government jurisdiction in fixing wages. The act is legally non-binding but statutory. Payment of wages below the minimum wage amounts to forced labor, exploitation. Wage boards are set up to review the industry's capacity to pay and fix minimum wages such that they at least cover a family of four's requirement of calories, shelter, clothing, education, medical assistance, and entertainment. Under the law, wage rates and scheduled employments differ across states, sectors, skills, regions, and occupation owing to difference in cost of living, regional industries' capacity to pay, consumption patterns, etc. Hence, there is no single uniform minimum wage rates across the country, and the structure has become overly complex. The highest minimum wage rate, as updated in 2012, was 322 rupees a day in Andaman and Nicobar, and the lowest was 38 rupees a day in Tripura. In Mumbai, as of 2017, the minimum wage was 348 rupees per day for a sewer cleaner and sweeper, but this was rarely paid. A living wage is defined as a minimum income necessary for the worker to meet their basic needs. This is not the same as a subsistence wage, which refers to biological minimum. Needs are defined to include food, housing, and other essential needs such as clothing. The goal of a living wage is to allow a worker to afford a basic but decent standard of living through employment without government subsidies. Due to the flexible nature of the term needs, there is not one universally accepted measure of what a living wage is, and as such it varies by location and household type. A related concept is that of a family wage. One sufficient to not only support oneself but also to raise a family. The living wage differs from the minimum wage is that later can fail to meet the requirements for a basic quality of life, which leaves the worker to rely on government programs for additional income. Living wages have typically only been adapted in municipalities. In economic terms, the living wage is similar to the minimum wage, as it is a price floor for labor. It thus differs from the national minimum wage in that it is not set according to a legal threshold. Incentive is an additional payment or other remuneration to employees as a means of increasing output. It's a kind of motivation. Incentive can be of two types: financial incentive and non-financial incentives. Incentives can be classified according to the different ways in which they motivate agents to take a particular course of action. One common and useful taxonomy divides incentives into three broad classes: natural incentives, intrinsic motivation such as curiosity, mental or physical exercise, admiration, fear, anger, pain, joy, or the pursuit of truth, the control over things in the world or people or oneself. A strong incentive is one which accomplishes the stated goal. If the goal is to maximize production, then a strong incentive will be one that encourages workers to produce goods at full capacity. A weak incentive is any incentive below this level. The goal is not to maximize production, it is to maximize profits. It does not encourage workers to produce goods at full capacity. An optimal incentive motivated the worker to work but balances that against both the marginal disutility of effort and the risk imposed on the employee by tying rewards to imperfect performance evaluations. Long-term and short-term incentives. Although long-term incentives could be part of the incentive system, they have been abandoned in the past 20 years. Not all for-profit companies used short-term financial incentives at levels below the president or very top executive levels. The trend to move financial incentives down the organization hierarchy started in the 1980s as a way to boost what was considered low productivity. Prior to the time, the incentives are associated more with the customer satisfaction in producing high quality products. Moving financial incentives down the corporate chain had unintended consequences of subverting internal process to save short-term costs, forcing obsolescence at the lower levels as investment was deferred or abandoned and lowering quality. A possible solution against the criticism of overpaying executives in boom times and underpaying them in recession times is by linking bonus targets to an operating index. By doing so, external effects can be excluded from performance measurement. This makes incentive pay more fair or likely not certain, as bonuses are based on performance relative to other companies in the peer universe. Incentives are effective motivators and the objectives to be met are clearly stated upfront, and when the incentives offered are desirable. Gone are the days when one type of incentive such as money or a pat on the back work for everyone. A company that provides various types of incentives tailored to individual workers motivates the employees to consistently to do their best. The 6 common types of incentive plans are cash bonuses, profit share, shares of stock, retention bonuses, training, and non-financial recognition. Profit or gain sharing incentive plan. the good old cash bonus. It's a one-time bonus. We pay if you stay. Retention bonuses for staying with the company. Long-term stock-based incentives. Publicly traded companies offer this kind of incentives. Career development and training. Offering specialized training in an area of interest is another valued incentive. Many employees thrive on being recognized in front of their peers. One example is an Employee of the Month program. As a team incentive, a company might offer a free happy hour or pizza party at a local restaurant of the team's choice. Teams might be offered additional vacation or personal time as an incentive to achieve a specific goal. This is very common in IT companies and all that. Wage payment systems provide for better payment of the better performance of workers over and above the standard performance. The standard may be set on the basis of early experience regarding the job's output, or it may be a result of time and motion studies and also job evaluation studies. This standard is based on average worker's capacity without causing him undue strain. Individual output over and above this can be considered for the premium or bonus. Almost all incentive plans provide for minimum guaranteed wages or on hourly basis. Some incentive plans use piece rates, while others include time saving and premium bonus plans. The plans are based on various formulae which are complex for the workers to understand without proper explanation. There are two types of incentives plans: individual incentive plans and group incentive plans. Individual incentive plans may be either time based or production based. In time based plans, worker is rewarded for better performance on the basis of time saved in completing a minimum standard of work in standard time. Halsey or Rowan plans are best examples of such plans. Standard time for an operation or for a certain quantum of production is fixed in the first instance. If a worker can save on this time, he is available for more work, resulting in higher production. Under production based plans, worker is allowed a standard work to be performed in standard time, and bonus is paid only if he completes the standard work within the given time. Otherwise, no bonus will be paid to him. Taylor's and Gann's plans are best examples of this type. Incentive plans provide that for producing units of work beyond the standard expected of an average worker, an individual receives remuneration increments proportional to increases in output. For the output that is booked is only the output that is of the required quality. The worker may be paid on a direct proportion basis. The company may share the amount saved with the worker's increased output by varying proportions. Some of the more widely known individual incentive plans are simple incentive plan. The piecework method is perhaps one of the oldest and simplest of the incentive plans. Calculations are based on rate per piece multiplied by the number of pieces produced. Second one, Halsey premium plan. This plan attempts to combine the merits of the time and piece rates and eliminates their limitations. Under this plan, certain quantity of work as a standard output is fixed on the basis of an average worker's result of past efforts, which is to be completed within the prescribed time. The worker who completes the work before that time receives a reward according to the time saved in the form of portion of wages in addition to his usual wages. Third one, row 1 premium plan. This plan differs from Halsey plan only in regard to the determination of bonus. In every other respect, both are same. The worker is guaranteed a minimum wage on the time basis that is assured, and then a standard time is fixed for the completion of every work, and if the worker completes the work in less time, he is given a premium bonus of the time actually saved in proportion to the total time. The plan aims at ensuring the performance of the premium rate, which is often cut by the employer when the worker's efficiency increases beyond a certain limit. It is advocated that the low rates of premium bonus under the Halsey and Rowan plans provide a really effective guarantee against any rate cutting by employer, and therefore the adjustment of remuneration to output on the whole is closer under these systems than it would be under price wages. Taylor's differential piece rate plan. Under this plan, a standard of output is first fixed or determined per hour or per day using time and motion study, and the two piece wage rates are prescribed. A relatively high piece rate is applied above the fixed standard, and the rate below the standard is very low. In other words, workers who attain or exceed the standard are paid at a higher rate, and those whose output is less receive the lower rate. Since the system does not prescribe any basic guaranteed time wage, it aims of encouraging the best class of workers as against inducing workers of a lower caliber to improve themselves or quit if they consistently fail or make standard. So the system penalizes the slow worker and rewards workers giving higher output. That makes sense. The Gantt task and bonus plan. This is a modified variety of Taylor plan which guarantees to the worker a minimum payment of ordinary time wages for all output below the standard established by time and motion study called work study. The worker whose performance is above the standard is paid a large premium bonus. A bonus percentage multiplied by the value of standard time under this system. Fixed time rates are guaranteed. Output standard and time standards are prescribed for the performance of each job through work study. Workers completing the job within the standard time or in less time receive wages for the standard time plus a bonus which ranges from 20 to 50% of the time allowed and not time saved. When a worker fails to turn the required quantity of a product, he simply gets his time rate without any bonus. Thus, there are three stages of payment. Below the standard performance, only the minimum guaranteed wage is to be paid. At the standard performance, this wage plus 20% of time rate will be paid as bonus. Third one, when the standard is exceeded, a higher piece rate is paid, but there is no bonus. The system is more profitable for workers whose efficiency is very high. Good performance should be encouraged and bad performance should be discouraged. That's a good policy. The basic wages rise proportionally as under ordinary piece wage system, and the bonus is allowed on the increased wage. In addition to this, workers with low efficiency are not penalized as they are in Taylor's differential piece rate. Immersion efficiency plan. Under this system, the worker's daily wage is guaranteed. A standard time is established for a standard task. There is no sudden rise in wages and it's achieving the standard of performance. The remuneration based on efficiency rises gradually. The efficiency is determined by the ratio between standard time fixed for the performance and the actual time taken by the worker. The bonus goes on increasing till when he achieves 100% efficiency. The bonus comes to 20% of the guaranteed wage. At 120% efficiency, worker receives a bonus of 40%. At 140% efficiency, the bonus is 60% of the day wage. Group incentive plans. As against individual incentive plans, there are group incentive plans which induce a whole group of workers. Under the system, each member of the group is rewarded on the basis of performance of the group as a whole. This system is very useful where output of individual workers cannot be measured, like in line layout. Although output as a group of workers can be easily measured. The accent in group plans is primarily upon cooperation toward a mutual objective. The focus is in the group incentive plan is on the group achieving a certain standard of output and thus qualifying for the incentive wage. So this basically encourages teamwork. A team approach is called for with all the members doing their share to achieve and maintain the output. Such group efforts can be offered group incentives on the basis of the piece work or its variation as well as the standard hour plan. I think all of you know about line balancing and all that, especially in assembly lines and all that. Everybody has to maintain a certain pace, otherwise the whole the output will suffer as a whole. Some group incentive plans are plant-wide systems, from which Scanlon plan is the most well-known plan. Scanlon plan. This plan operates at the plant level as a means of achieving union management cooperation towards a goal of increasing productivity. The incentive feature of the plan is a bonus that is paid monthly to gain the benefits of prompt reward, and which is calculated from savings in labor cost. This approach requires a compensation of a normal labor cost per unit of product produced. If through more cooperation and greater efficiency labor cost can be reduced, the entire amount saved as some fraction is distributed among the workers in the form of a bonus. Scanlon claimed that individual incentive plans stimulated cutthroat competition to the detriment of the group, whereas group incentives offered constructive cooperation. Nowadays, the policy is teamwork. That is one of the most essential soft skills that companies look for, any organization look for. The essential features of the plan are an attitude of labor management, cooperation, and a system of processing suggestions for increased efficiency, which are evaluated by a complex committee structure giving the union and management equal representation. The plan thus emphasizes participative management and joint planning between the company and the union. Scanlon plan has been adopted with varying degrees of sources in several US organizations. However, there are also instances where it has been tried and failed. It is a difficult plan to put into effect and to maintain because it involves complex changes in the social structure, and organizations plan and union schemes have been abandoned mainly due to the frequent disputes which cause considerable damage to the industrial relations climate at the plant level. There are many instances in which full motivation potential of the incentive is not obtained, largely as a result of quite conscious restriction of output by workers themselves. Group output restriction is not the only problem. There are several other difficulties like the reaction to changes in methods, equipment, and materials, difficulty to set truly appropriate standards. Moreover, deterioration in the quality of the product in order to maintain high output is yet another problem. That's a problem in, but of course, as I said, the output that is recorded, that is booked, is only the output that is of the desired quality. It should be as per the standard specification. The setting of timings and base rates is a continuous process, a source of friction, and readjustments are difficult to implement. There is also a danger that safety regulations would be disregarded by workers, and this may result in higher accidents. Workers may tend to overwork and undermine their health. Several times, one can work fast, go fast, but one has to sustain that pace for the shift duration. Normally, shift duration is 8 hours, normal. If they do overtime and all, it will be much more than that. Several times, differences in earnings could cause jealousies and misunderstandings among the workers. Many schemes work against those who are willing or disabled or advanced in age. Workers develop a tendency to regard the highest earnings as their expected normal wage and consequently try to push up the base rate. Most of these problems revolve around employee fear of management and a desire for security. Employee profit sharing plans constitute one of the more glamorous forms of monetary compensation used in business. In 1897, the International Cooperative Congress defined employee profit sharing as an agreement freely entered into by which the employees receive a share fixed in advance of the profits. The employee profit sharing plans are of two types. These are cash or current distribution, and trust or deferred distribution. In the cash or current arrangement, the benefits are distributed among participants in cash at least once every year. The deferred type involves a trust fund, the benefits from which are distributed in the event of death, retirement, or disability. Some managers prefer to place a part of the profit share in trust and distribute the remaining part in the form of cash each year. The profit sharing arrangement is voluntary but based on an agreement between the employer and the employee. In it, there is a following arrangement. The amount to be distributed amongst the participants depends upon the profits earned by the enterprise, and the proportion of the profits to be distributed is determined well in advance. Employee stock ownership plans (ESOP) rewards employees with company stock either as an outright grant or at a favorable price, discounted price that may be below the market value. These plans are more common among major insurance companies, commercial banks, gas and electric companies, and those with over $500 million in sales. The main objective of ESOPs is to promote a mutuality of interest. Other possible values for the promotion of thrift and security, the creation of an added incentive to work productively and cooperatively, and the creation of an additional source of investment capital. The chief incentive plans, most popular ones: Halsey Premium Plan, Halsey Ware Premium Plan, Rowan Premium Plan, 100% Premium Plan, the Bordix plan, Point Plan, Taylor's Differential Peace Rate Plan, Merrick's Multiple Peace Rate Plan, Gantt Task Plan, Emerson Efficiency Plan, Co-Partnership System, Accelerating Premium Systems. Base pay is fixed based on merit rating system of classification of jobs into different levels or groups based on qualifications, experience and skills required. Perks are management policy based decision. Similarly, management needs to decide the incentive plan best suited for their organization. Bonus is also decided based on negotiation with the labor union by the management, but government stipulates at least a minimum bonus, and companies can pay a much higher bonus than this minimum. Basically, employees should be properly recognized by a matching financial compensation and reward system, else it will be construed as an insult and exploitation. Then employee will look for greener pastures elsewhere. Japan had a cradle to grave policy of retaining the employees till death. Western concept is fire and hire at will, which leads to employee disloyalty to the organization. Retention of a good employees is a must for all the success and continued growth of any organization. Leading organizations with a good management team will practice good principles to the core. This ultimately leads to mutual advantage to employees as well as the employers. Okay, debates, discussion on topics like this can go on forever. Anyhow, let me call it a day. We'll meet again real soon. Some of the statements, views expressed are solely mine based on limited knowledge gained over past 6 decades. Always watch these videos with closed caption for absolute 100% comprehension, as by sincere recommendation zillion times so far. I know I rushed through to complete the presentation within 20 minutes max. It's a time limit. I had set myself to retain the viewer's attention as of now, but I know nowadays I exceed this time limit since I make honest attempts to cover the selected topic more elaborately, including so many intricate fine details, referring a wide variety of sources, in particular Wikipedia quite extensively, besides articles and books published recently. In addition, of course, I add my own salt and pepper and masala based on my personal experiences so far in my life, and also intuition. Stay at home as much as possible to maintain social distancing attributed to pandemic novel COVID-19, and prolong your lifespan. Lead a healthy life. God alone can put a stop to natural and unnatural events, maybe bio and cyber war like pandemics, which may lead to apocalypse and extinction of all sentient species on earth for no fault of theirs. All the best. Rest in peace and